Jesus came to bring light. He said, the people that sit in darkness now saw a great light. Did they receive it? No. Then he steps up in Matthew 11 and he says, the kingdom was the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. It was to whom this kingdom belongs, where it's coming from above. He says it suffered violence, and the violent take it by force, because Satan was not happy with the situation. And now the people were so deceived that they couldn't see the light. And now the kingdom is taken by force. But Jesus keeps on preaching the kingdom. But now it starts with death and resurrection. Because on the mountain, he was met with Moses and Elijah that showed him his exit. Now this exit is crazy. Because this is the point where the biggest division ever was going to take place. Guys, get it? Light came into this realm. In John 3, he says, no man ascended up into heaven, but he that comes down from heaven, who is in heaven, even the Son of Man. So the Son of Man is a body of a man that is infiltrated with the Spirit of God. And what he did is he brought heaven to this level. Heaven is not up there, a realm that is divided from us. It has come down to our level. Where did the battle take place? Right here on earth, in heaven. It is a realm that came into this darkness. In the beginning, Satan dared to put his nose up in the wrong realm because he should have been in darkness and stayed there. Now God says, you've taken me on, now I'm taking you on in your realm. Because man is without hope, without God. We are born without hope. So God came into this realm and he took on Satan, even to the death of the cross and the rulers of this world. I love this. Revelation 13 says, this beast come out of the sea, the four kingdoms, a mouth like a lion, claws like a bear, looks like a leopard. He's very terrible, ferocious. He says, and he was given his power by the dragon. And the dragon, Revelation 12, is Satan. So Satan is behind all the kingdoms of the world. Remember when Jesus took the temptation, he took him in an instant, to a high mountain, in a twinkling of an eye, in an instant. He showed him all the kingdoms of the world, and he said, bow. Where do we read this? In Daniel, when the statue was there, and he said you're the head of gold, you're the King of Kings, small letters. The next very chapter, the spirit of darkness came upon this man. In chapter 1, he said, oh, Daniel, your God is the God. The next minute, deception came in, and he says, I'm not going to be the head. I'm going to be everything. The spirit of upliftment, the spirit of I'm the greatest, I'm the biggest, I'll be. And he made everybody bow. And he said, if you don't bow, you'll burn. 3, heavenly. 3 people didn't bow. A 4th man came walking. And now the temptation comes to Jesus. How ridiculous is Satan? He's coming to tempt the very 4th man that was predicted to come. And Jesus didn't take it. Not even on the cross did he bow. So Satan was bound for a short time. Now this is the only perfect time that is on earth. And by the way, 1,000 doesn't mean millennium. It means perfect. And after a short while, he was led out again. And he went for the last thing, the last temptation. Because in darkness, there are rulers of darkness. He says there is no temptation that comes to man that is not common to man. You see, we've always got this funny warfare thing that we have to fight the devil and we have to warfare. We're like this guy's running next to the road, punching the air, but we don't know who we're punching. It's ridiculous. He says it in the Bible. The Bible explains our warfare to us. He says there is no temptation that comes to man that is not common to man. The lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. And how many wonderful Christians have even fallen for that while fighting the devil. Oh, I have just conquered Satan. What? You've just driven the devil out? What? You're no match for him, man. Your life is not a drop in the bucket. It's a small atom in the drop of the bucket. It's ridiculous. What fight are we fighting? So Jesus came and he took the last temptation. He said, I cannot be separated from creation. I'm forever tied to creation. Isn't this the most wonderful sermon? I am so excited. And he was willing to give up the ghost. And something terrible happened there. It became dark from the 6th hour to the 9th hour. Now, remember when Paul got saved? In the midday, a light appeared to him, greater than the midday sun. It was so bright, it blinded everybody. Now, the light of the world went out. It became dark. The sun was up, but because the light went out, in him was life, and the life was the light. He literally poured out his life for his creation. And what he said there, he says, my Father, why hast thou forsaken me? Please, this is terrible. Just before he died, he was praying for his disciples, and he said, I'm going to go, but I'm going to make a place that you can be where I am. And then the whole chapter 17 of John, he says, I and the Father are one. Get it? From the beginning, all the divisions that was there, never was God. It's not three gods. The Trinity is not three gods. They one with different function. It's like they speak out of the same mouth. They move together. He says, I only do what the Father tells me. What I do is I do because of what he that sent me told me to do. And for the first time now, he went to a point where he says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And God turned his face on Christ and he had to die. Isaiah says, who will believe our report? He had no form that we should desire him. Darkness is formless. Listen, we on the earth, he didn't just come to earth, he went down to the roots of this darkness. He became without form. He became without shape. He took everything of death. When he said, the Son of Man will be lifted up, and when I'm lifted up, I will draw all to me. It's not all men, it's all judgment came upon God himself. Now, this is what makes God different from all the other gods. He died for those that he made and loved. Other gods are trying to be lifting up. It's actually the spirit of anti-God, because we want to do it. Oh, I'm so big, I'm so fat, feed me, feed me, feed me. No, Jesus didn't do that. He became humble. He came in our shoes. He came to a point where there is no one so low on earth that Jesus didn't become lower as that. Because God turned his face away from it. I don't care how poor you are. I don't care how sick you are. I don't care what has happened to you and what has been done to you. God has never turned his face from you. But from Christ, he turned his face. But now he comes. In John 16, the last verse, he says, guys, I want you to know, do not, maybe you should read it. These things have I spoken to you, that in me you might have peace. In me you might have peace. Outside of Christ, there's no peace. He says, in the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Now listen, if he talks about the tribulation that followed the cross, and he says, don't worry, you will overcome. What do we read in Revelation? You will overcome. He that overcomes, he that overcomes, he that overcomes. And it is important to know that our overcoming is not in our greatness. We are no match for Satan. We are no match for darkness. But what Jesus did when he died, he poured his spirit out on man. And the most wonderful scripture for creation is 2 Corinthians 4, verse 6. For God, who commanded the light to shine. My word, when he says this, all the purposes of God, everything, all the realms, everything of heaven and earth, and everything comes together. He says, for God who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, have now shone in your hearts, to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ has now become the face of God to usward, because what he is in our hearts. And then he goes on and he says, this treasure is in an earthen vessel. What? Now, after all this, you know what we do? Then we go on and we fight the devil. Now, I want to know if we have to fight the devil, if we have to fight the devil, then what did God do in heaven? Because he says, for this purpose, the Son of God was manifested to destroy the works of the evil one. Who's the evil one? Satan. He was the one that handled the tree. He knows all about good and evil. And he always comes and he says, especially to parents, oh, you must teach your children good and evil. Let them make a choice. Where does God ever say you must make a choice? It was a command, eat of life. They made it a choice. So they plunged us into eternal choices. And man cannot make a choice. This is why Moses gave them a choice. Elijah gave them the choice. They didn't choose. But God said, you have not chosen me. I have chosen you. And it is like, okay, he has chosen us. He has now gone to the cross. He died for our place. But what did he do? He destroyed the works of the evil one. He abolished death and brought life and immortality. So why do people still die? What is going on? What is our fight? Now,